On today's show, electric cars and plug-ins are the fastest growing segment in the American market, even though BMW can't get enough SUVs. And the top automotive economists share their forecasts for the new year. All that and more coming right up on Autoline Daily. This is Autoline Daily, the show for people who believe the automotive industry is critically important for society. You know, it sounds almost unbelievable. BMW saw the biggest drop in sales last year of any automaker in the American market. It was a 9.7% drop, which was even worse than Volkswagen, which was prohibited from selling any of its diesel cars. Ludwig Villach, the CEO of BMW North America, says the problem is that BMW's SUVs are selling so well all around the world that he couldn't get enough production allocation to meet demand in the American market. Villach says he only got 40% of BMW's output at its plant in South Carolina, but could have easily taken 60%. That plant made 411,000 SUVs last year and is the largest plant BMW has. Villach says they're expanding production at that plant for the new BMW X7, which will be the biggest SUV in BMW's lineup. But Villach says that even with that expansion, it may not be enough to meet market demand. Every day it seems that autonomous cars take another step forward. Cruise Automation, an autonomous technology startup that GM acquired last year, just released video of a self-driving Chevy Bolt. It shows the car traveling through the streets of San Francisco and dealing with a number of traffic scenarios in an urban environment. GM's president, Dan Amon, who was riding in the back seat, said the vehicle operated in autonomous mode the whole time without a driver needing to intervene. Speaking of self-driving cars, Tesla just received huge news regarding its Autopilot system. Last summer, the company was in hot water after a Model S owner was killed in an accident while Autopilot was in operation. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration launched an investigation soon after that, but the agency just ended the probe, saying it did not discover a defect. NHTSA says the driver ignored the company's warning to maintain control of the car while using the Autopilot system, and it will not issue a recall. We'll be back with more right after this.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, your journey, our passion. Dow Automotive Systems, advanced materials that deliver better results. And by Lear, a global leader in automotive seating and electrical systems.
Amazingly, despite cheap gasoline prices all last year, the hottest segment in the U.S. market was for electric cars and plug-ins. That segment grew 30% and over 150,000 were sold, with 70,000 being plug-ins and 80,000 electric. Plug-in sales grew the most, largely thanks to some new entrants and by strong growth from the Chevy Volt, the Ford Fusion Energy, and BMW X5e. Most EVs are only sold in a limited number of states. They're not available nationwide, so there's a lot of upside potential. But before you get too excited, they still represent less than 0.8% of the total market. When electric vehicles were just starting to get off the ground, automakers and the Society of Automotive Engineers set up a committee to come up with EV standards, including a universal plug for recharging. That gave us the J1772. But as we now famously know, Tesla was part of the SEE committee, but then went out and came up with its own plug design so that no one else could use its proprietary charging network. That ticked off automakers, the SAE, and EV enthusiasts. But revenge is sweet. A company named DigiNow that makes parts for electric motorcycles and e-bikes just came out with a new adapter that will allow any EV to plug in at most Tesla stations. The adapter has what DigiNow refers to as a translator, which allows it to work with the Tesla setup. The basic unit will work at about 75% of Tesla's Level 2 stations, but it does not work at Level 3 supercharger sites. The only drawback? This thing sure ain't cheap. The adapters start over $1,700 and can easily run up to about $3,600. You know, from some angles, the grille of the new Chevy Bolt looks completely black, but upon closer inspection, it has a subtle pattern. To achieve the look, engineers used a couple of neat tricks we think you might like to know. The main part of the grille is actually one solid piece of tinted polycarbonate. It gets its two-tone appearance or pattern solely by varying the thickness of the plastic. Then, to make the pattern pop a little bit more, 3 layers of paint are sprayed on the back surface: a primer, a color coat, and a black coat. Lastly, the top side is covered in a hard coating to protect it from the elements. You know, we love sharing these design insights with you that you're not going to hear about anywhere else. So now you can go out and impress your friends. Coming up next, 3 automotive economists gaze into their crystal balls and tell us what to expect for 2017.
Bridgestone's new Ecopia Plus tires are fuel efficient and engineered to give you 20 extra miles per tank.
20 extra miles? Good, because usually I have to stop and fill up there. Hit me, Ben.
Learn more at bridgestonetire.com.
The overall global automotive industry is running strong, but can the good times roll? On Autoline this week, John is joined by 3 automotive economists, and in the following clip, they talk about what could go right this year and what could go wrong.
The global story is actually quite optimistic when you look into 2017. Stronger economic growth here in the U.S. as well as some of these other emerging markets. We should see vehicle sales surpass 90 million units globally next year. And so it's really, I think, remains an optimistic outlook for the industry as a whole.
And when you say 94 million, you said, is that?
90 million.
90 million, that's light vehicles?
Light vehicles.
Light vehicles, so not the big semis and buses and all that?
No, you can go even higher if you throw in those.
Mustafa, what do you think?
Again, it's pretty much the same story. I mean, the 2 centers of real strength are North America and China. Europe is coming back very nicely. You know, there was a lot of concern with Brexit and everything else. You couldn't tell from car sales. That's a big political event took place. Once you get beyond those 3, you're right, South America looks like it's bottomed out. I don't have a conviction that the turnaround is there. Same with Russia. I mean, you know, you can't go down much further, but are you seeing a turn up yet? I'm not convinced of that. So I think, at least for the next year, we'll be very reliant on those 3 centers, you know.
U.S., Europe, and China.
No, but North America.
North America.
Okay. I can go back to what Charlie said before, that Mexico has been growing very strongly and is about to, you know, approaching Canadian level of sales, and the growth in Mexico is sufficient to say that North America will have another record year this year.
Emily, what do you see for the global automotive market?
Well, I agree that in general, the best baseline forecast for 2017 is probably one of, you know, modest increases for global sales. I would say that there are still some significant risks on the horizon. One is that commodity prices remain volatile, and so for some of the emerging market economies, a real robust recovery without support from the commodity sector may be challenging, and it may be delayed depending what happens with prices this year. And in Europe, we still have a bit of political uncertainty, a lot of key elections taking place in many of those markets in 2017. And so that has the potential for disruption, although, as Mustafa mentioned, Brexit so far has not created that disruption, at least not as far as auto sales. We still have some important negotiations yet to come on that, so there may be another shoe yet to drop. That's another one that we're watching really closely.
You know, there's a lot of great information in that show, including the impact the Trump administration could have on the auto industry and how mobility may affect car sales. So head on over to our website, Autoline.tv, to watch that entire show, or you can find it on our YouTube channel. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll be right back here again on Monday with the latest news in the global automotive industry.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.